What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Thank you all for coming out today. I know it's raining outside. It's kind of crappy weather, but we're here. So I see some familiar faces from the last time we did this last month. It's good to see you guys again. Thank y'all for coming out. So we started putting this together. This was really an idea probably, 6 or 7 months ago. And for us as a business, I think a lot of times we just get, tied up in the day-to-day thing, just trying to keep the doors open in this place and keeping this happening. And for me, this has been something that, we've wanted to do for a while, but I really love to just pass on education. And I really love to help people out. I know whenever I got going in this industry, 17, 18 years ago, I didn't have really anybody at all that, was willing to help me or show me anything. And so I had to do a lot of legwork on my own. It kind of stifled things. And so for me, this is just a really good way to kind of give back and kind of help in our community and what we got going on. And the idea is that we all love music. I grew up playing music. I wanted to be a performer, I wanted to be on the stage. I love being on the stage. Any chance or opportunity I had to do that. And what's going on? Music always pulled at me, but then I always loved the technology side of it too. So that kind of led me to wanting to record, do engineering, doing producing. And I feel like in our community where we're at, we don't have record labels that are based out of Mobile. We don't have publishing companies that help with licensing music. We don't have film backlots, where films are being shot. They're starting to come up. We're starting to see some of that stuff happening. But really that makes up the infrastructure of the music business. And having a recording studio like we have here, that's a way for us to create. And I really hope that people that are coming in and being involved in these, they can find other things that might kind of pull at them, other ways that they might want to, be helpful in the industry, or be able to take their skill sets and add something to our community. And I also want the artists that are here to be educated, so when they do go into bigger markets or they do have opportunities that pop up, they're able to make moves more educated and make the right moves. And so for us as a studio, as a business, we're now getting this going. We're making sure that we make this happen. We're really pushing to do this monthly. Last month we did PROs and distribution. We talked about performing rights organizations, BMI, ASCAP. We went over distribution, getting your music on Apple Music, Spotify, what those deals look like, what those streams look like, what the pay of those things looked like. And I feel like that was a lot of really great information, but when we really started to get feedback from people, we realized that was maybe 10 steps in, and maybe what we needed to do was really kind of go back, to the beginning of things. And so when we were getting ready to do and go into all the other things that we're putting together, we had this idea of like, hey, majority of the artists that we do have in our area are independent. They don't have big record label deals, not yet. And so for us, we wanted to kind of create a path and create some content that you guys can use as kind of that study guide and help you find the direction and what you need to be doing and, to be able to bring your art to life. So without further ado, we will get into it. So you guys probably saw the flyer. You signed up for it. Indie Artist Playbook was kind of where we're going to start off and be able to get off into some of these things. So this really is the foundation. So a couple different topics that I'm going to kind of go over today is as an artist, your presentation, how you're perceived, networking, building your team, whether that's, the band or the other professionals that are helping you bring your things to life, your business, how you create value for yourself as an artist, how you set that up, how you keep that separated from your personal life, and what it takes, the work ethic that really goes in behind bringing your art to life. So what is an independent artist? It's a do-it-yourself model. It avoids record contracts altogether. That's by definition what that is. Our industry is going to say if you're not signed to Sony, Warner, or Universal, you are an independent artist. So presentation, how you're perceived. So it used to be the clothes that you're wearing, how you're popping up and getting your face and your name out there, how you're going to go talk to people at radio stations to try to push your material. But in the day and age that we live in, everybody knows that your online presence is really going to speak a lot of that. And a lot of artists that we see coming to the studio that will do work out of here, they won't have that separation at times between their personal life and who they are, who they want to be perceived as an artist. If you are trying to grow your art and you're trying to market yourself, we need to have that separation between your personal life and what you are doing as an artist. So that could be, hey, I've got a Facebook page for me and my family and my friends, and this is where I post things like that. You should have an artist page too. And that page and the content that you put out, it should represent how you want to be seen by the world. We all know as soon as you put something online, it's eternalized, right? So you got to be mindful of that when you're posting things, when you're commenting on things. How am I going to be perceived for that comment? How am I going to be perceived for that post? Is that in line with where I want to go as an artist and how I want to be perceived as an artist? Your website. If you don't have a website, it's not that expensive, and we're going to kind of dive into how you are investing in yourself. But nowadays you can have AI, create you a website for you. These are all parts of the foundation in how you're perceived by anybody that will speak for you when you might not yet have a voice to that audience. So not only keeping that in mind with social medias, but trying to get your personal website as well. The next thing for how you present yourself is the quality behind the work that you put out. Your content, your posts, your merchandise that you're putting out. And the world that we live in, it doesn't take $1 million to make an album anymore. It doesn't take $500,000 to go shoot a music video. You guys know, a lot of people that I know in here probably have some type of home setup that they can be recording their music on. Let's use that. We have phones in our pocket that can record at 4K. Let's use those tools that we have and try to put out the best quality that we can, because we will be judged on that. EPK, this is another thing that we use in the industry to get our content out that's above and beyond social media, that's above and beyond our website, electronic press kit. It's essentially your resume as an artist and defines who you are. So if you've ever gone to buy a product, there's a commercial or there's a pamphlet where you can read over what is in that, what comes with that. You go to buy a car, it's going to tell you the gas mileage. It's going to tell you all the details that are in that vehicle. Your EPK does the same thing for you as an artist. Where do you come from? What are your influences? Where do you want to go? How big do you want to get? And so taking the time to build something like that is really going to be your resume that you can turn around and send out to other people in the industry. Networking, next part, building your team. Events, going to shows, industry events like this one. I know we got a skeleton crew here today, but last time we did this, we had 30 or 40 people here. I implore you guys to meet everybody that's in this room, talk to everybody that's in here, figure out what they're good at, figure out where their passion is. The wonderful thing that we get to experience on a day-to-day basis here at the studio is we have artists that are coming in and they do this, they do that, and it's almost mind-blowing to us that these two people might not know each other because we work with them and they're so paralleled in maybe what their passion or their direction is, that it's like, how do you guys not know each other? But we see that network build inside the studio walls, and next thing you know, we see these guys months later and they're actually putting work together and they're doing things together. So when you guys are at events like this, figure out who other people are, link up on social media, figure out what they're good at, figure out what they can bring to the table, and whatever capacity that could be, and build your network. You never know, that person 10 years down the road could be at the pinnacle in their field, and one conversation that you have here in the studio could give you that in for that phone call, get you that favor, that maybe they can hit you up later on for. Putting yourself with like-minded people. So when we're going to shows and we're going to events, as an artist, eventually we'll kind of get to the point where it's like, well, I'm not going to go to a show. I'm doing 3 or 4 shows this week. I don't want to go to a show. I don't want to be in a venue, right? You're robbing yourself of those opportunities to network with like-minded people. You might you might pop up at this show, and maybe you're not talking to the other artists, but there could be other people that are involved in the team of that artist. There could be photographers there could be videographers there, people that build websites, people that do graphics, people that engineer or produce. And if you're surrounding yourself with that like-minded artists or in the places that you might find your genre of music really being played, you can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be other professionals there or aspiring professionals that could most definitely help you out. So always keep that in mind. I've been doing this for a long time. I still go out and see shows. I still go out and try to network with artists. It's really important for me to show face and let people know, like, hey, I'm here. I care about what we have going on, and I want to help. Press release. This is another way that we can kind of help to extend that network, right? So, yeah, we got something that's happening, and we did a post about it. Who's that post going to? It's going to your audience, right? Hopefully somebody shares it, hopefully this person shares it, and it kind of grows out to your audience. A lot of times when I talk to artists, the idea of a press release, they almost minimize that. Well, maybe my project's not big enough for AL.com to post a story about it. Or maybe the show that I'm trying to put on, it's not. No. We have media outlets that want to know about what's going on. And they spend a lot of money to put reporters in the field and get people in the know who aren't always in sync. They don't always have their finger on the pulse of what is actually happening. And a lot of artists won't take the seriousness to say, hey, let me actually put a press release together and send that out to media outlets. I guarantee you got a project that's coming out, make a post about it, for sure. Do that. Let your audience know. But I guarantee you, if you typed up a press release, added parts of your EPK in there, and sent that out to other media outlets, you will get more traction. It gets the buzz happening. So your business, creating your value. This is probably one of the most important parts of what I wanted to be able to talk to you guys today and bring to you guys. Setting it up. So when we're thinking about the music business, right? Who wants to make $1 million? Would you guys want to make $1 million for your music? Yeah? 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 No? No? Yeah? All right. Okay. I know a lot of people growing up, the idea was, oh, you make $1 million, you're a sellout, right? Has everybody heard that, felt that at one point in time? Cool. You can make art, but you're not going to be a part of the music business. You can be an artist and not be a part of the music business. Whenever we're trying to make a living with our art, we are a part of the business. Just is what it is. So we have to be mindful of that. We have to be mindful that when we're doing this independently and we don't have a big record label contract, that you guys are in control of your business. And you have to treat yourself as an artist as your business. When you start to have that mindset, those moves that we were talking about, how you post on things, how you comment on things, you'll start to second guess yourself. Is that the right thing that I need to say right there? Do I need to comment on that at all? Or this post that I'm putting out, do I even need to put that out there? If you think about any other big business in the world, everybody nowadays, we don't, but people want to be politically correct, right? And so they tiptoe and, they triple guess everything that they put out. I'm not saying do that, but just be mindful of what you're putting out into the world and know that that could damage your brand. And that's the last thing you want to do. We want to add value to what your business is. So when we're setting it up, you got to set it up in two ways. It's got to be an LLC or it's got to be a corporation. There's a lot of differences in the both. I'm not going to tell you guys which way you should go or should not go. You could do an S Corp, you could do a C Corp. There's more fees involved with corporations. They do keep a lot of their capital, though, flowing, so they're not paying taxes on that at the end of the year. You would probably get to a certain degree in your career where you might say, hey, I'll paying those fees to have some type of corporation would be worth it. Starting out, LLC, limited liability corporation, is probably going to be the go-to. They're a lot easier to set up. It's a pass-through entity, but it does separate your personal income and who you are as a person from your business. Once that gets set up, we're going to get with the federal government, IRS. They're going to provide us a EIN number, which is your employer identification number. We want to set up some bank accounts under whatever name we came up with for our business. And then we want to use all these accounts for all of our money in and all of our money out. The cool thing is about the entertainment industry is we work in a field, you guys perform in a field, create art in a field that everybody else that works 9 to 5, they're spending their money on entertainment, right? They want to go to a show on Friday night or go to a show on Saturday night. They want to buy music. They want to buy films, right? We want to watch Netflix and stream that. This is all entertainment. This is all things that if we're not in the entertainment industry, that we're probably going to be spending a lot of our money on. As artists, as companies that are set up in the entertainment industry, there is a lot of things that you could write off as an expense that the rest of the world can't do, right? I buy a new PlayStation. Guess what? I can write my PlayStation off because I'm also going to use my PlayStation to check my Dolby Atmos mix, right? I'm going to go buy a big TV. Well, guess what? Maybe I just shot a music video. I need something to check that out on because I want to make sure it looks good on everybody else's TV. There's not any other industry in the world that's going to be able to write off a PlayStation and a TV. It's just not the case. So we want to set up accounts so that we can track that income, track those expenses, keep those things separate from who you are personally. Budget. Who's got a budget put together for themselves as an artist? Anybody? 1, 2, 3, couple? Okay. This is important. You guys need to be able to take money from gigs, money we're doing from playing, or giving other people advice. We got to try to figure out what that could potentially be. And then we got to make sure we don't spend any more money than what we have coming in. That's a great thing about separating our business from our personal selves, as we can track that stuff a lot easier. and a lot better. So budgets are huge. Think about that, and think about what you're spending your money on. Investing in yourself. Now, who's bought a piece of gear? Anybody? Guitar, microphone, laptop, something? Everybody. Everybody's purchased something that is a piece of gear for them to create something. When we're talking about budgets, a lot of times we'll see artists that'll come in and, oh man, I can't afford to have this record mixed to exactly how I want it, but I just bought a brand new pair of $200 shoes. I can't afford to create this video, or I can't afford to make a website, but I just got a $1,000 phone, right? So if we're talking about putting those things together and you're an independent artist, you have to be mindful of what you're spending your money on and where that could help you out in your career and further that process. And what's going to do that the quickest, right? Yeah, you got a $1,000 phone. Cool. Now go use that as a tool. But the $200 shoes that you got, you might be better off putting that in somewhere else. Maybe that $200 is going and printing off flyers for all of the next event or the next show that you're going to put on. Well, guess what? You do that, you might have 50 more people show up, and that 200 now became an extra 500, right? So being mindful of that stuff. Content creation, how we're spending our money on that. Getting here and doing some recording, doing video content, graphics, website. We want to be mindful of where we are spending our money on and really try to stretch that and get the most bang for our buck that we can. Money versus time. Can you do something yourself? Do you have time to do it versus hiring someone else? And is the quality in line with you, right? So you're also going to be mindful of this too. If I sit down and I try to edit a video, I can edit a video, but y'all, it'll take me 5-6 hours to do that. I'm not good at it. I can make records all day, but I'm just not good at that at all. So if I need to do that, I'm probably going to go find a video guy and go work to make that money to have them do it, because they can do it a lot quicker than I can. And it's gonna look a heck of a lot better than mine will, right? So keep that in mind every time you go to make that decision, right? Hey, should I spend my money on this, or hey, should I do this? As an independent artist, we really wanna strive to do as much of those things ourselves so that we can save that money until we just ain't got time to do it, right? Hey, I've got 5 gigs this week. Well, you're probably not going to have time to mix the 3 songs that you recorded last weekend, right? So what's the trade-off? Do I cancel 2 of my gigs so now that I can take my time and work on these mixes? Or do I have somebody else help me out with that? So being mindful of those things. And I know that is probably one of those things where we think about that a lot in life in a bunch of different areas, but when we're talking about this being our business, we have to make sure that we're mindful of that as well. So good reading. You guys probably heard this before. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a really good book that allows you to really know, hey, is this a good choice? Reading through a book like that, in my opinion, will kind of open up your eyes to making good decisions with how you are spending your money and how you are investing your money. What it takes, work ethic. Who all has a calendar as an artist? Everybody? Almost everybody? Yeah? Okay. How many of you guys have deadlines on there for creating content? Okay. How many of you guys have set goals and put those on your calendars? Good. Gigs, help you keep up with gigs. This is really, really important when we're talking about planning and actually creating change. Writing all that stuff down and really holding yourself accountable is going to be the best way to get the most things done and be productive. Who has a 10-year business plan as an artist? 5-year business plan? Couple? Anybody know where they want to be in a year from now? Everybody's got hopes, right? Ideas, right? You guys need to be able to sit down and write all that stuff out and then be able to check yourself. You know, if you're planning, you got calendars put out, go ahead and do a calendar for the next 5 years. Put that goal in mind and where you want to be. Hey, this is where I want to be on September of 2029. And when that day gets closer and closer and closer, and you're not where you need to be, that's going to help you push yourself to get to where, you know, those goals that you're trying to create. Hold yourself accountable. Some of the best artists that I've worked with were people who consistently held themselves accountable in any and every capacity. They know the field that they're in, they know their deadlines, they know what they need to be doing, and they push themselves. If you have a 9-to-5 job, what time you got to be there? 9 o'clock, right? What time you get off? 5 o'clock, because somebody else told you, hey, show up from this time to this time. This is how much money you're going to make, right? If you're an independent artist and you have your own business, nobody's going to tell you, hey, wake up at 7 a.m. You had a gig last night. I didn't get home till 2 a.m. I'm sleeping till 10 or 11 o'clock, right? Nobody's going to push you to get up at 7. And if you ain't got that 9 to 5, you know, where you have some type of repercussion happening, you know, it's going to be real easy to drag your feet, right? And not get those things done that you need to get done and not really hold yourself to the level of accountability that you really should be doing. So when I bring up holding yourself accountable, I will go downtown Mobile and I will pop in and I will see a fantastic artist, a band that's just kicking ass, right? Just killing it. And they'll get done at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on where they're playing at. They get done loading all their stuff up. They put it in the truck, put it in the van, whatever it is. And then I turn right back around and the entire band is sitting at the bar taking shots. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'm sure you guys have possibly been there as an artist, right? Why? Get out of the venue, go home, so you can get up early the next day, so you can start working on all of the things that you have on your calendar, right? That's how you're going to be holding yourself accountable. You have to realize that you are the entertainment. You're not paid to party, you're paid to create the party. Right? Yeah, you got a lot of people there. Everybody else is having fun. Everybody's drinking, right? So what do we want to do after we get off? You know, I want to jump in and be that party with them. If you're working in the entertainment industry, you are the one that's creating the party. A lot of times there's going to be things that are happening around you where everybody else is having fun, just like we were talking about earlier, where everybody wants to spend their money after they get done with that 9-to-5 job on entertainment. Well, if they show up to your gig and you're putting that on, you are the entertainment. And keeping that in the back of your head and being mindful, really, from my experience, is the key difference between a successful artist and the artists that just kind of stall out. You know, they get to the point of being able to book those gigs and have a couple hundred people in front of them, and they don't rise above that because they'll just get tied up into feeling like, okay, it's okay for me to party and be the party. But that's not it. Do your work and stay focused. This is one of my favorite quotes. I don't know if you guys have heard it or not. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. I'm in the studio 5-6 days a week. And just like you guys as independent artists, and nobody's telling you what time to wake up and what time you need to be creating your videos and creating your posts, you have to actually have the fire inside you and hold yourself accountable to do that. I could walk in the studio at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, get 2 or 3 hours of work done, and then just go home. Well, guess what? This place would not be here, right? It just, the doors would not be open to this place. And as an artist, anything that you put off is only going to stall you from getting to where you're wanting to be 1 year, 5 year, 10 years from now, right? So be mindful of those things when you are out and about, that, hey, I got work to do, right? I'm getting out of here because this is not benefiting me any at all. Now, on the flip side, if you meet 4 or 5 really cool people who can help you, that's part of networking. Yeah, no, hang, try to get in with those people as much as you can and make sure that you're following up with them the next day. But be mindful of also, too, how you're presenting yourself. Are you the artist that just got done with their gig and now they're, falling as they're walking out of the door? That's not a good look, You just don't have that professionalism to you, right? Is another good read. All You Need to Know About the Music Business. Has anybody heard about this book? A couple people? I know I gave one to Gabby at one point whenever she was here. I get a copy of this book, and any of the guys who have done internships with us here at the studio, this is pretty much the industry Bible, in my opinion. Donald S. Passman is an entertainment lawyer who's been in the industry, vinyl to CD to Napster to streaming, and the laws that this guy has been a part of and the court cases this guy has been a part of has set the landscape for not only the music industry but the entertainment industry as a whole. And in this book, he really goes over pretty much every music business role that is out there, the jobs of those people, what they bring to the table, and really how to navigate helping to find those type of people who could help you out in your career, in your run. So this is a great book. If you don't have it, I think you can get on like Amazon for like $20-25 or something like that. There's quite a few different editions out. I think they update it every year or two. So go and get that book. If you don't have it, it's a great book. Yeah. Now I'm going to jump over to some Q&A. I left a lot of this stuff open-ended because I found out that when we were doing this stuff last month, a lot of the questions that we had, there was a lot better information that kind of came out from that stuff. And we got some lighting stuff happening. So, I kind of left a lot of the stuff open-ended because I really wanted this part for us to be able to get more out of this. So, I know I kind of broad stroked a lot of different subjects kind of getting into this, but now I'll just kind of open it up. I got Savannah here. She's got a mic. We're recording all of these too, guys. I think we just posted last month on our YouTube channel, and that seems to be a really great way for us to like capture this content and make it just a resource for you guys to be able to go back, miss this part, and be able to see that and get the information that you need. And we're also going to send these PowerPoints out too. So Savannah, you got a microphone? Is anybody getting questions? Boom. We can get the mic.
So you were talking about LLCs and corporation, and I want to know what is the process to get an LLC if you want to get one?
Perfect. And that's the reason that I didn't elaborate on that stuff, and really hoping that, some of that stuff will come to light. So you have to have it submitted. You can do it on websites. There's like LegalZoom that you can go in and put all that stuff in. And essentially it's just putting your information in. Who owns the company? How's that company split up? What's the address to the company? What's the name of the company, right? What type of business that you're actually going to be doing, so that when you are filing taxes for whatever that company is and you're writing this or that off, that they can see how those things are categorized. So we've actually got an IP attorney who does intellectual property law, trademarks, copyrights, patents. His name's Hunter Adams here out of Mobile. And Hunter loves music. I mean, he's a huge music fan. I would get with Hunter, and we can get you his information, and they can get that set up for you. But I want to say that Hunter can get you an LLC set up anywhere between $700 to $900, something like that. And once that's set up, there really is no maintenance or anything that continually has to be done for that. It's set up, and as long as it's active and you're filing taxes through it, there's really nothing more that you have to do. But once it is submitted to the IRS, they will then be the ones to give you your EIN numbers, and then you can then take that federal tax ID and use that if you're filling out a 1099 or you're sending W-9s out to things. So you might have a venue that hires you and, hey, they want to turn around and pay you with a check. Run that through that LLC. Because now if you keep that in that account and you go and you spend money on something, you can deduct that from your income. Especially if they're going to turn around and claim that they paid you that. The last thing you want to get into is a couple of different venues all claiming that they paid you X amount of dollars, and then now you owe an extra 3, 4, whatever on your taxes that you never even had to pay for. Another little tidbit to all that is you can actually be in the red for up to 3 years before the IRS will declare it a quote unquote hobby. So you can actually be losing money as you're kind of getting going. One example could be, hey, I went and got a $2,000 rig for me to record stuff at home, but I had to put it on a credit card because I didn't have $2,000 cash laying around. And I only made $1,000 doing gigs this past year. Hope you guys make way more than that. But now you can claim that $2,000 that you spent and have a deduction of $1,000 from when you're putting in your personal income.
Okay, I got another question, and I ain't gonna try to hog the mic. When do you suggest somebody get an LLC as an artist?
As soon as you say, I want to make money being an artist, right? You can create art, you can put it out in the world and not expect a dime out of it. You're not in the business at that point in time, right? So as soon as you say, hey, I want to be in the business, I'm wanting to make money from this, that should really be the first step as an independent artist, is for you to be able to separate your artist self from your personal self. Yep. So I wouldn't wait. Yep. Cool.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Besides an electronic press kit, where else can you send your artist CV? Like, how close can you get it to say if you want to be part of a label? How can you get it at least in the vicinity of the offices in the label without like trying to submit and getting lost in the other submissions?
Right. The avenue for that, and this is one of those reasons why I brought up that book and just quote unquote called it the industry Bible, is because it actually does kind of lay some of that stuff out for you just by going through and giving you the definition of different roles in the industry. An A&R developer, artist and repertoire developer, is their sole job is to look for new talent, right? Who's got something going but really doesn't have the money or the push, whatever it is, to help kind of take them to the next level. That is what an A&R rep does. So they are really the kind of the end. If you're talking about wanting to get involved with a bigger label or one of the major labels, you're going to want to put that into the hands of an A&R rep. But no, it's not that expensive to record your music or to create a website or to make a video of yourself. And if it's done correctly, especially nowadays, if that's something that is going viral and it's creating ripples, people will notice. I don't want you guys to go out and like make a video though and post all this stuff out if you don't have the foundation done correctly, right? You're gonna get all this viral traction and they're gonna go to your personal Facebook page or they're going to go to your personal Instagram page where you've commented on things or made posts that might not be in line with how you want to be represented as an artist, you're not going to get the traction that you should be getting from a video like that might get you the streams or kind of that viral attention, right? So really want to make sure that your foundation is there so that when something like that does happen, it's able to take off and really help you. And nowadays, with A&R and how they work, if you made a viral video and you had 10 million hits on it, they're gonna see that above the email that they just got with whoever new artist sending their music in, right? Because one other element that adds for them is work ethic. Cool, you sent me an email, let's get your press kit in there, you got your foundation done, but if I look on, you haven't created any content in a couple weeks, I don't know that your work ethic is there. I don't know that you're striving and you're pushing all the time to create stuff. But I might see something on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is that just all of a sudden has all these views to it. And here's another video coming in on the backside of that. Here's something else that's being posted. And it just shows that work ethic is there. And that's another big thing that they're looking for nowadays. They want to see that work ethic. And they want to see a solid foundation from the artist, because there's really no excuse for you not to have a website or to have your business set up, right? These are things that are so easy to do that people just don't put that importance on. And then when they do have something that kind of gets them that attention, they're not ready for it because they haven't taken that time to really create that foundation. So, yeah, an A&R rep would be really the way to get it in, but also too, using your network. If you happen to go out to some of these events and you run into these people, it's all about right? So you might meet someone who does publishing, and maybe it's in a completely different genre, but they could be best friends with an A&R rep that is in that genre, that does work for a major. I've been to a lot of bigger industry events, and it's a small pool of pros who are actually out there working with these big labels. There's a bunch of people out there, but everybody knows everybody kind of thing, when you get to a certain level. So maintain that importance in your network and know that even if you don't know who you need to know, well, maybe one of your friends do, and use that network. The key thing that I see with the people that are in that upper echelon of people working in the music business, the key thing that I see with those type people is they legitimately want to help people out. They want to see other people be successful, right? And yeah, those people that are up there, they want to help you out. If they see that work ethic and that drive, and you create good art, they're going to want to help you take it to the next level. So.
I got one more question.
Yep.
About agents and management. I wonder if it's still true, like if they take, like what's the legal amount, a percentage that they can take from another artist, like say 15, 30, 25%? Like, what's the standard, like, cut?
Right, so asking the standard cut for an artist manager?
An artist manager.
Okay. An artist manager, they kind of have that role of facilitating the record deals and helping to put other people in place. Sometimes they can even be a financial manager. Sometimes those guys will step into the role of a tour manager. A lot of times when we do see artist managers, at this point, they do have a few different hats that they will wear. All of that is negotiated between the artist and the manager. I have seen and talked to managers that work for management companies where they take as low as 3%. And I've also talked to other managers who will take upwards to 18 to 20%. You start getting in the 25%, you know, I think that they're getting greedy at that point, right? Unless they're really bringing something to the table that's really helping you take it to the next level, that would seem really greedy, you know, in my opinion. But you have to really see the work that they bring to the table and you know, realistically put a value on that. If I'm an artist and let's say I make $20,000 a year, you know, with my art and gigs, and performances and streams and all of that, that's how much I'm pulling in. And I turn around and I hire a manager and they make me $1 million next year. Me personally, I wouldn't have a problem giving them 20%. Here's $200,000. Because guess what? They just made me $800,000 with their connections and who they could potentially be linking you up with and the deals that they might be facilitating for you. And they would have to be a badass manager to do that. But if they're a badass, well, then you're going to pay for somebody to be able to bring that value to the table for you. So I would say 10 to 15% is kind of the industry norm, though, as far as a manager's cut. Yep. Yeah. Cool.
So the book that you mentioned, does it have examples in it of how to create a success or a good EPK and how to do press releases and stuff like that? Or do you have any other resources
It does.
that explain how to do that stuff?
Yeah, no, It does. He does actually go over that in that book and really kind of shows the best way to deliver those things. And EPK is, you know, when we say, hey, this is your artist resume. If I'm backstage at an event, majority of the artists are going to say, hey, let's link up on socials. We're linking up. They're hoping that the content that they have on their social media accounts, you know, proves to whoever that is, you know, who they are, who they want to be as an artist. But it doesn't always share your goals. It doesn't always share how you got to be where you're at, what helped you to create that sound. And so that's really just a foundational piece that you should always just kind of have in your back pocket. It might be years from now before you need, you know, something like a press kit. But if you've got it there and you've got it ready to go, now you're prepared for that opportunity. So, yep, and it does kind of go over how to put some of that stuff together too. Yep. Sweet.
So, like, since this is for indie artists, and let's just say you record something in your own little, like, home recording studio or whatever, I know that she had a question about getting an LLC, and you said it's important to get that as soon as you start creating. Yeah. Let's just say you want to make, like, a EP, which is, like, 6-7 songs, and then post that on Spotify. Would you recommend getting an LLC and copywriting? Like, is that part of the step? Do you get an LLC and copyright before you put that out there on Spotify or something like that?
Definitely. The setup of the business now could direct where your streaming money needs to be going, right? Mm-hmm. So now it helps for us to keep up with the income that we might be making from our streams, and as well as be able to use those accounts to deduct expenses that we might have while we were creating that content. And yes, we most certainly would want to have everything copywritten, because if we put it on Spotify before you have a copyright to it, and I love your song, but I know that you don't have a copyright to it, I could go re-record that, use your lyrics, your melody, harmony, rhythm, all of those things. Now my song just made $1 million, and I did submit for the copyright a week before you did on your song. It's not going to hold up if you go to court over it. If you say, no, that's mine. I actually released this before they did. That's about the only leg that you have to stand on. So it's going to be a he said, she said thing, and whoever holds the copyright first, usually going to win out.
Okay, so like you could just like go to copyright.org and then submit your recordings, and then
So
sorry.
one website. Don't go to any other one. Don't trust what Google or anything tells you. Copyright.gov.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. Submitting that with the Federal Patent Office, Federal Copyright Office. But yeah, there's sites on there. It's like copyright.com. You can copyright something for $30. No, not gonna hold up. Copyright.gov and be able to submit your work or body of work, and that way you're covered if you do have to go to court.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
For sure.
Oh, I turned it off. I don't know.
Hey,
Hey.
I know like the main thing is networking, and I'm socially awkward, you know this, and doing stuff like this is already like trying to get used to. Do you have any suggestions for artists that are trying to get out of their shell to really do networking the way that it needs to be done?
I would say, like, my personal advice on that is to use the tools that you can so that when you're in that setting, it'll make you as comfortable as possible, right? So if that is, I'm gonna hop on social media and I'm gonna comment and message these people, these other artists maybe, these other industry pros for whatever it may be, that might then give you the opportunity to somewhat kind of create that rapport, at least with a few people who might be at this event that you might go to. Now you at least, hey, you walk in the room and you have someone that you can talk to, right?
Right.
I think also too, being honest, like just being genuine and honest. Anybody who is also a genuine and honest person will accept you for that, and they will want to help you. So let's say you're coming to an event, I'm gonna be there, you hit me up, you let me know that. Hey, you come to me and you're honest with me and you say, hey man, I'm just kind of socially awkward. I don't really like just randomly going up to people. Hey man, I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind. I want you to be successful. I want you to do as much as you possibly can. And you tell me, hey, I need to meet this and this person and this person and this person. Me being, trying to be a genuinely good person, I'm gonna come grab you and say, come on, I gotta introduce you to this person. I'm gonna introduce you and I'm gonna talk you up and at least try to get that conversation going, so that, okay, you're swimming, you got it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do something else. I think a lot of that is just gonna come from you just being honest with yourself, and then with the people that you do know, just telling them that, just letting them know that. We're all humans, we all act and feel similar but different ways, and we're all old enough to understand that we're all different. And I feel like when you're talking to genuine people, they'll definitely keep that in mind and want to help you out in any way that they can. So,
All right. Thank you.
for sure.
What's up, man?
What's up?
Like,
How's it going?
all right. So my question is, I'm kind of piggybacking off what she said about networking, but you did make a statement earlier about being wise with your spending.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So my question right now is basically where I'm at as an artist is, do you take your money and pay to open up for people that's more exposure than you, or do you take that money and do your own show and stuff? Try to basically, do you do your own thing, or do you try to jump into something where it's more exposure and take a gamble with it working or not? That's basically my question. What would you recommend as far as an indie artist like?
For sure. No, that's a great question. I think that's you making that personal decision on, hey, how am I going to invest either the money that I have or the time that I have, right? Both of them have value. If you're out spending all this time when you could be working or doing something else to generate some money, you're losing out over here to gain here. Let me make sure that the gain that I have over here way more offsets what I'm losing on this side, right? So, the question of, hey, should I maybe spend money to go open up for somebody, and what does that look like? Okay, well, Maybe I got to hire a DJ. Maybe I do need to go get some better clothes that I can be on stage performing with. Maybe I'm in an area where, hey, if I'm going to go get a meal before my performance, it's going to cost me $50-$60, and the gas to get there, and the time, to be able to go to make that happen. I think that there is potential huge payoffs for that. But when you're doing that, you need to make sure that all of your focus is to do that at the highest level with the best quality that you possibly can. I did production management at Soul Kitchen for 3 or 4 years, right? So when I was working production management down there, I got to see all these touring acts come in every genre that you could imagine. And sometimes they would come in and they wouldn't have an opening act. So they would say, hey, we'll have 2 or 3 locals that'll come in, find them, they'd leave it up to the venue, and then we'll let them open up for whatever the big artist was for the evening, right?
Right.
And the opening acts would all know that, hey, they got a 15, 20-minute time slot. And there was only one artist in the 3 or 4 years that I was there who I could tell rehearsed for that time spot, like down to a T for just that gig, right? I've seen other artists who definitely come in and they got things together, how they need to, and their stage presence and all that is there. 88 pops out really for me as one artist who
he's great, by the way.
was getting there, because whenever I saw him perform, I still hadn't yet seen that one person who kind of really tried to, make the most out of that. But whenever he came in, I think he even had like some edits of his songs where he was only doing, a minute and a half, 2 minutes of a 4-minute long song, because he knew, hey, I would much rather get up here and do 2 minutes of 5 different songs than only be able to play 2 or 3, right? And so I remember him popping up and doing that, and I was like, ooh, he was ready for that, right? But how could I take that opportunity and take it to the next level?
Yeah.
How could I make sure that, well, hey, what could I bring on the stage with me? What's going to help my stage presence out? Because if you have a gig like that, I don't know one venue that's going to say, hey, don't bring this prop up on the stage. Don't bring this special light or whatever you got up on the stage. They're there to help you out. They'll do it, as long as it's going to be something they could do relatively quickly. Right. But I never saw an artist that was really thinking to take it to that level and really try to make the most out of that time that they got. And so they spent all this money getting there, eating, the gas, the time to take away from it, whatever it could be. But then they would get that slot, and it was almost like they didn't really take that time to try to make the most out of that time that they did have, right? And so, did that pay off versus them doing their own show? I don't know. Do they gain new fans that night? I don't know. Could they have gained more if they really taken that time to you dial that in, go have some merch made and show up at the venue with some merch, I've seen a ton of opening acts, and maybe 5% of them actually have merchandise. Maybe 5% of them actually had that presence after they opened up, where they would go in and they're trying to network and kind of take things to the next level. And of those 5% of the artists that I would see, man, I would talk to them, and every one of them was making $200-$300 a night in merch, like making that. Like they would sell $500 worth of hats or hoodies or shirts or whatever it is, and they were clearing $200 or $300. But they took that opportunity that they had and they really made the most out of it. So I think you just have to kind of ask yourself, like, is doing this opening spot, where you might not even be getting paid, is that better than, doing your own gig,
Probably not.
I don't know. Could be. It all depends on how you make it, It all depends on what you make out of it. But I've also seen guys too, Josh, that works down here with me, my business partner, I mean, he's into music too. He's an artist. Before Josh really got into engineering, he was doing a lot of shows over at Soul Kitchen. I remember one of the shows that he put on at Soul Kitchen was as an independent artist, and dude had like 700 followers, like no traction really whatsoever as an independent artist. But he went up and booked the venue himself, paid the $1,000 so he could rent out the front space in Soul Kitchen for the night, right? But then went and got with a graphics dude who made him a flyer, and he went and printed up hundreds of those things, took his time and posted them everywhere, and turned around and had a sold-out show. Had 300 or 400 people show up. And he had no traction in the city as an artist, but after that night he did. And after that night, he probably cleared $1,000, you know, after all of his expenses that he had, you know, making the flyers. The time that it took for him to go put those flyers out, he tracked that. That was in his budget. Hey, I'm going to spend 4 or 5 hours just putting out flyers. What is that value, right? And he was able to take all of that, add all of that up, and actually realistically show what he was able to make just by putting on his own show. So you could put on your own show, and I mean, it could do numbers, you know?
That's the plan.
So, and a lot of that is just how you're creating that foundation, your presence, so that you're appealing to either other industry people or your market, you know, people that you do want to show up to your event. So
10-4.
Yep. Yeah. Cool.
Hi,
Hey.
I'm Jerica.
Hey, Jerica.
I'm a singer, and I've just reached the point where I'm ready to perform. And I've done open mics, but I'm not sure how to move forward with like getting gigs, or what do I need? Like, do I need to bring my own gear? Or I'm just not sure how that whole process works.
Right. And I'm really thankful that you brought that up, because when I started putting the EPK part together, it was, now do I go into using that to get gigs and, you know, go down this tangent or not, right? So I'm really glad that you did bring that up. As an artist that's getting going, and hey, I'm getting to the point now where I do want to be able to go get my own gigs. It can seem kind of daunting, you know, where you're, I see you this venue and they have, you know, people who kind of are in my vein or my genre, you know, but who do I talk to, you know? And then you go talk to somebody and, you know, they don't see any benefit from helping you out. They might not help you out, right? So I think it's really important to have the foundation down, right? Having your socials set up, having your online presence where it shows you as an artist, shows your work ethic, and shows that that actually is something that you're working towards. Once you get that kind of down pat, you then need to ask yourself, hey, do I need to invest in other gear? Do I need to have my own speakers, my own mixer, and my own microphones? That's really going to depend on the gigs that you might be performing at. Everybody knows the Bluegill. It's on the Causeway. Heard of it, right? A little restaurant. It's on the Causeway. I don't know if they have it now, but for years, they just had like a deck of a stage. And if you were playing there, you had to bring your own speakers, own microphones. You had to bring everything. And the big reason for that is for them as a venue, they didn't want to have to keep up with the maintenance of all those things. But any artist that was going into that particular venue, you had to have $5,000-$10,000 worth of PA equipment just to be able to play at a venue like that. But the nice thing was you could actually charge 2 to 3 times more as an artist because you were having to bring all of your own gear in. So I would study the venues that you could see yourself, you know, doing those first few performances in. I would probably try to get geared towards a venue where you're not having to bring all of that extra gear in. It is something that increases that workload on you as an artist, where now you're going to be working 4 or 5 hours just getting set up, where you might only be performing for 2 or 3 hours. You're going to be whooped at the end of the day. Versus a venue where, hey, all that stuff's there. I just come in, bring my instrument, my voice, whatever it is for the instrumentation, and plug in and go. So I would definitely try to eye up those type venues first. And then I would talk to other artists who are playing in that venue. If they are those good-hearted, kind of genuinely good people, they might not make the introduction for you. You know, they might not grab you and say, hey, let me, you know, show you who the venue owner is or show you who the bar manager is. They might not take it to that level, but if you can just get a name, right, that name is everything. Now, make sure that you're showing up when that person could potentially be there. You know, if you're showing up at 1 a.m. on a Saturday night, you might not find that person really in the state of mind to even have the capacity to talk about putting somebody else on the calendar. But if you're popping in at 5 o'clock when the doors are opening, you might be able to catch that person and be able to have that conversation with them and at least be able to shoot for a chance at that point to be able to get a gig as kind of that, you know, getting your foot in the door independent artist. And then from there, you got that foundation there. Keep the mindset of whatever it takes, you know, whatever it takes. Travian was asking us about how do I know if I should invest in doing my own event or open it up for somebody where I might not be making any money. If we're an artist and we're not gigging and we're not out there, you know, charging and getting this, you know, day in and day out, it's going to be real hard for you to go in and be like, man, I need $1,000. I ain't playing for anything less than $1,000. Okay, we'll find somebody else who will, because we're running a business too. We're trying to keep our costs down, and I don't know you, right?
Right, that was my next question.
That's hard.
Like, how do you price it?
But if you go in, you say, hey, check out my videos, check out my content. Here's my press kit. Check out the foundation of all the stuff that I've done, right? Hear me, see me showing up early, right? And know that I'm taking this serious. And I'll play for free on the first one. And guess what? Then you come in on the back end with a little bit of leverage. You say, hey, you know what? I really want to play here. You see what I got? You see my foundation? I'll play for free. But if I play for free and I get twice the number of people that you would usually have in here on a Thursday night, then the next time I play, I do want $1,000. If I'm a business and I don't have to pay you anything for that first run, cool, let's see what you got. But now you show up and I'm expecting 150 people on a Thursday night, and now I have 400 people show up. They're gonna be swimming in money, and it's all because of what you are able to bring to the table. Now when you go in there and they call you back and say, hey, when can we get you back in there? We just had a fantastic night. You know, we had more than double of the amount of people come in, and we know it was because you pushed this and you made that happen, and they were all there for you and to support you. Now you have that leg to stand on and say, yeah, cool, man, but I'm not gonna play for anything less than whatever you then value that as. So that's one kind of negotiation trick that I don't see a lot of artists always using, but man, if you go into it like that, you really can't fail. If you back that up with a work ethic of, I know this is a free show, but I am investing in myself by doing this for free. I'm investing in myself by going and putting all these flyers out, and I'm investing in myself by helping this venue make all of this money. It will pay off. Make sure that you make the most of it though. If you're doing all of that You should have so many videos and so much social media content just from that one single night that you can just stand on, right? And you should really just be pushing everybody like, hey, tag the venue, show this place at max capacity because I'm in here. Because you might have been talking to the venue manager, but you might have not even talked to the bar owner. And the bar owner, he might own 4 or 5 other bars. He might not know who you are at all. But if you got 300-400 people tagging you and tagging the bar and everything, and now all of his socials are blowing up, he's like, whoa, why is there so many people in there? This is a random Thursday night. It's like, who was in there? We got to get them back. What do we got to do? Hey, that's going to be $1,000 next time I come in here. Hey, I don't mind. I'm going to pay that because we just made way more than that. And it was all because of what you kind of brought to the table. So, yeah, that's how I would suggest kind of going about that. You might have to play somewhere for free, but if you're going to do that, make sure you make an impression and make sure you create the most out of that, because that'll just push your personal value as an artist up. Yeah.
Just a person who's done it. I did 3 shows for a whole year. Every important Saturday of the month, I did it 12 months in a row where I lived in the city. Free shows are a great company. So now when it's time to go to the Soul, you're used to being just keeping your roles. And then people will recommend you, what's your name? What's your name? Hey, get that Jericho girl to the co-sing. Like, just people do stuff like that. Just I'm doing free shows and stuff like that, just to do good stuff. To just piggyback on what you said. It's a benefit for sure.
Mm-hmm. And if you got your business stuff set up, then you can actually claim all of that first gig as a loss. So you can write all that off too. So, going out there.
I don't know if this was asked the last time everyone gathered. What's good artist etiquette in the studio? Like, what's good studio etiquette when you're like working either on a video or you're working on audio or whatever with a team? What's good conduct that would allow, trust between you and that studio?
Being respectful, I think that really if you're in any kind of professional environment, just being respectful, not doing anything that you wouldn't want somebody to do to you, I think as the artist, if you're keeping that in mind, then you're probably not going to do anything that would offend or damage that relationship. For us as a recording studio, we want artists to be as comfortable as they possibly can. So, we'll roll out the red carpet, and for the most part, whatever it takes to make the artist comfortable, we'll do it. So for us, it's, trying to create that atmosphere that people can be creative and do work, and they don't feel judged, or they don't feel like, oh, I can't do this or do that. As far as the etiquette thing goes, I think if you're just respectful, then you're fine. We haven't had really too many artists that come in and have like any kind of like crazy etiquette. I think maybe just like leaving some trash around, but whatever, that's not that big of a deal. But above and beyond that, I have yet to hear a story, and we've been open for going on 9 years now, of really any artist that was disrespectful, there's been times where maybe an artist is doing something that's like a little iffy, we'll come and tell people like, hey man, that's a little iffy, and it's like, oh, my bad, I didn't know, and then we'd never really see it again. So just being respectful.
With your question that you had with the PA system and the sound system, I went on Facebook Marketplace. I literally saw one that was like good amount, everything you need for about $1,000. That's like a good way to find if you're just starting off. But and how you said that was like, oh, you have to spend like $10,000 to perform with like the bluegill. Let's just say hypothetically, I went and bought like the Street Cube, which is something that buskers use, where you can plug like one instrument into it, one microphone. Do you think that would be good enough for venues like that? Just if you're more of like a single person out doing this and you have to carry your own stuff, you don't want to have to set up all this on your own, because $10,000 like sounds like a lot of equipment, or at least.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely is. I think it depends on where you're at. You know, if I'm in a coffee shop, I could get something like that. I could get one of the Bose towers. That's going to be fine. It's going to be loud enough. I want to be able to be heard clearly without really any kind of distortion or you know, feeling I want to damage anything. I wouldn't be able to take a Bose tower or the Cube system. I'm not going to be able to go to Soul Kitchen, you know, and expect 1,000 people to hear me. It's just not going to happen, right? So I think that just is kind of dependent on kind of where you're at. The reason that I threw out that price tag, and I know for a fact that it's that if not more, is because a place like Bluegill is outdoors. So you need 4 to 5 times as much volume because you don't have 4 to 5 walls that's holding all of that in for you. So when you're looking at a system for a place like that, it's just exponentially more money because you're outdoors, right? Okay. So I think it just comes down to the venue that you are playing at. And maybe even kind of like backing off of that, just the thought was, you don't have to be playing at a venue. You know, we don't have to be actually playing at an establishment. Those gigs, those could be playing at a wedding or playing at a party that somebody's putting on at their house. I know several artists in Mobile who they'll play in front of 400 or 500 people, and then I'll see them play in front of 20 people at like a pool party. And it's like, what are you? And it's like, dude, I'm having fun, and I like doing things like this. And oh yeah, the guy who's putting on the pool party is throwing me like $300 or $400, so I'm here, you know. And they never know who you might run into there either. So it doesn't always have to come from, you know, performing at an establishment. You just want to get out there. You just want to get going, meet people, and people start to know who you are. Because when you can create that foundation that's kind of rolling like that, it talks for you. You don't have to do any talking, you know. It'll do it for you, you know. Because eventually you'll have people that's going to come to your socials and they'll be like, yo, how do I get you to this gig? You know, I want to hire you to come in and play this gig for me. And you might not have ever played at that venue ever before. So it's just all about getting that traction going. So, yeah.
Also, if you don't want to answer this, that's fine, but what's the PK, like the press kit, like what does that consist of again? I'm sorry.
Electronic press kit is the definition of it. Essentially just saying, hey, if I'm going to send this out to the industry, the press, the people who are kind of spreading the news around about an artist, that's where that name comes from, this is a breakdown of who the artist is, where they're going, what they want to do, the projects that they're working on, and it is essentially a press release that you can kind of keep in your back pocket to just be able to inform people that might not be able to get that information from your socials or your website and things like that.
Thank you.
Yep.
I got a question for you, Mr. Laxton.
Go for it.
Where do you see Dolphin Street Sound in the next 3 to 5 years? Or what's your goal?
Yeah, for sure. And I have them. I mean, hey, if I'm not asking you guys about them, I mean, I got to stand behind it for me, right? To keep the doors open is a big one, you know. For us, when we first started this, it was goal, 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 and just doing everything we can to kind of reach those. This one and kind of building out this backspace was a huge one for us to be able to get to. And actually just kind of building out the building where it can do as much as it can possibly do, right? And so we've kind of gotten that to a great point. So we're not, you know, building new rooms and stuff in here in the studio. So when I say keep the doors open, it's everything that comes from now and to that 10-year point. How many artists are going to come in? How many records are we going to make? How many albums are we going to be a part of? How many films are we going to get a chance to work on? That's what we're in here to do. And so if we're keeping the doors open and we're 10 years down the road, guarantee you we're going to be working on a lot of really, really cool things. Above and beyond that, I would love to see the infrastructure for the music business just growing in Mobile and us somewhat kind of being that catalyst to make that happen. That's why we're putting these on. And that's why it's, really like tugs at my heartstrings to try to do, is because I can run a recording studio, but I can't do this and run a record label and do a publishing company. And a production company. Like, I would be spread way too thin. But those are all different parts of the industry that I would like to, see being formed. And so potentially partnering up with other people who would want to get in to help kind of build the infrastructure in that way. Yep. Yeah.
Team 4.
Yeah. Help people get major record label deals. Or maybe they like me enough and can throw me something on the side. That would be wonderful.
You brought up a 1 year versus 5 year versus 10-year plan. Yep. Okay. Whether this is with an indie label or a established label, which one do you think is best? Like a 1 album deal or a multiple album deal?
Good question. I think that's going to be dependent on you as an artist and what you feel like is going to be the best deal. If I was an artist and I was going to go, potentially be signed by a major label, I would be real apprehensive of a 1 album deal. Because what's going to happen is either they're going to put all of their money into that 1 album and really hope that they're able to recoup on the back end, right? Or they're not going to give you hardly any money and you're still going to owe them that album, and they're not going to put all of that money in there because they don't see that you have a future. Maybe they signed you because this project did decent, and so they think that they can take you kind of to the next level, but that's a big dice roll, and you really don't see a lot of, really any record labels that are just going to do like a 1 album deal. A lot of that has gone away, or you're just a megastar, I mean, if I'm Taylor Swift and I say, hey, I don't want to be with this label anymore, my contract's up, every label in the world would give her a 1 album deal if that's what she's demanding, right? But if I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm a come up, and I'm not really developed yet, hardly any label is just going to give me money just to make 1 project, because that 1 project could take me from, let's say, 5,000 followers to 50 million followers. But now, all that money that they put in to make that, that 1 project, I'm not going to sign with them again because I don't, only owe them 1 project. I can now go and work with any other label. That just wouldn't really be a good business move on the record label side. So, majority of record labels are going to have 2 to 3 album deals or project deals, and then they're going to have options, kind of what they bake into those contracts. And those options can be taken by either the artist or the label, depending on how that contract is set up. And so you might be an artist where it's like, hey, I've got a 3 album deal with 5 options on the back end, where you could stay with that same label for 8 different projects. That's usually how you see majority of the record label contracts being framed up nowadays.
Okay, 1 more question.
Yep.
Say if you, well, it doesn't matter which type of label, but say if you manage to get a contract, how much freedom do you, can you turn around and say, I don't want to sign right off, I want to look at this with my lawyer, how much freedom do you have to like say, I don't want to sign it right then, I want to take it home? Do you have that, like, can they pressure you to sign now, or can you, like, you know, take it home to your lawyer? I don't know how to ask the question.
Right, I got you. I think I understand where you're going with that. There's usually going to be a term after the contract is somewhat agreed on that contract can still be put in place, right? So everything might be drawn up and they might say, hey, you have 30 days for us to lock this contract in. If it's not locked in 30 days, it's null and void, and we're going to have to like renegotiate at that point. That amount of time can be part of the negotiation, but a lot of times it's going to be set by the label. They're offering to give you money. So they're going to say, hey, you either take this deal in 30 days or 90 days, or the deal's off the table. And you can try to come back, but that money might not be there for you, you know, when you do come back. So that's a roll of the dice. But usually there's going to be like a kind of a term in place where you could back out of it completely, or you can say, hey, I need to renegotiate this. We got a week left. You know, let's kind of hash this out. If you ain't signed it yet, you ain't signed it yet. You don't owe them anything. So that could get you in trouble though too. I've seen 2 artists who were, man, like right there on the cusp, and they waited too long, or they said, oh, this is $250,000 for a 2 or 3 project deal. I'm not taking that. I'm worth $500,000. And then all of this traction that they had just went down because they didn't have that work ethic to kind of keep it going, or, you know, people weren't talking about them anymore. And then they said, I should have taken that $250,000 deal. And they said, hey, is that still up for grabs? And I'm like, no, we'll give you 80 now, maybe. And now you owe us 3 projects because you're not hot anymore, you know? We were trying to get you when you had something, and you ain't got it now, you know? So snooze, you lose. So, yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, cool. Guys, I hope all of this stuff was super informative to you guys. This is me and the team of people that I have here. This is us investing our time. We don't get anything off of this, you know. We want to just have an open door for you guys to come in and be able to learn stuff, so that we can really kind of help the education level of our community go up. So I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging, and I hope you guys take a little time just to network with everybody that is here. Gabby?
Going back to signing a deal, I want to stay independent, but I know it's a thing called a management deal type thing.
Yep.
Can you explain how that works? Because that gets really confusing to me.
Right. So a management deal is outside of a record label contract, and essentially that's a deal with you and another individual or a management company where you pretty much sign to them and you say, hey, I'm going to give you certain percentage of all the income that you're going to make, right?
Right.
And they're going to say, okay, well, we're going to dedicate 20 hours, 40 hours, whatever it is a week to help you bring that to life.
Okay.
Now, it behooves them to go and help you make some money, because how else are they going to make money? You know, if they're on the percentage side of things, well, if you don't make any money, well, they don't make any money either, right? So if they're a good management person or group or whatever, they're really going to get out there and try to help you make money as much as they possibly can, because they're not going to get paid if they don't. And so if you are looking at something like that, look at their scope of work, and just as they might be checking you to, you know, try to get you to make money, you should be able to turn around and check them too on it, you know.
Okay.
Hey, you said that you're going to help me do this and this and this. You never did any of that, you know. So you're not holding up your end of the deal. This contract's null and void. I'm going to go find somebody else, you know. And if they're really in it and they're good at what they do, they're gonna help you go make money, you know. That's the only way that they're going to get paid.
And is it true that it's harder to get your stuff on like streaming platforms like on the playlist and like Apple playlists if you are independent and not signing on to a label, or like even being eligible for a Grammy? Like, because I know it's like rumors that it's harder for independent artists to even be in that conversation because they're not under the big three labels.
Right. The cool thing about the Grammys in our industry, and this is the only like awards program that does that. It's not like the Emmys or any other entertainment industry award. The Grammys are actually decided by the peers. It's not big companies that just figure out, hey, who's the best actor for the year? Who's the best artist for the year? The Grammys are awarded based on votes from voting members. I've been a voting member now for 8-9 years, so I vote on the Grammys every year. I have to go through and listen. I will not vote on something if there is a project on there that I've never heard before, because I'm showing favoritism, and that's not cool, because that person, whoever it is, you know, I should not vote in that particular category if I haven't taken the time to understand what that is that got submitted.
Right.
The other cool thing about the Grammys is anybody that is a part of the Grammy Association, they can submit up to 2 projects to be voted on by the Grammys every year. And so those projects are included in the votes that everybody does. So me and you, we come in here, we make a record, you release it, it's on all the streaming platforms, and nobody else submits that into the Grammy Foundation. I can go in and I can take that record and I can say, hey, this needs to go in this genre, in this category, and boom, there it is. It will go in there. Now, it's gonna go through being voted on, you know, probably 4 rounds of voting. So it helps to kind of, you know, break that down till we get to like the final 4, right? So there's a ton of submissions that are in there. But you don't have to be signed to any major label to turn around and win a Grammy. Chance the Rapper's an independent artist. I don't know if you guys know that, but he's an independent artist. Like, I mean, yeah, you don't have to have any of that stuff. Now, as far as like, hey, how do I get on this playlist on Spotify? Because it's got a lot of like streaming traction. That can organically happen. But the major labels, they know that, and they do not want to see an independent artist make it.
So that is true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why would I? Like if I'm a record label, why would I want you to be the next superstar, Taylor Swift, Drake, you name them, and be able to go out there and say, oh, I did it with none of their help, right? So those businesses will make it damn near impossible for you to be able to make it happen without them. Because if you don't need them, then nobody else needs them. So what's the point of them even being there, right? So with that in mind, you start getting some traction, you start making some waves, they're gonna take millions of dollars to make sure that you don't go to the next level. That you might get right here. All the superstars are up here. You might, man, you right there, you know, like you doing all the things. They will spend that kind of money, if not more, to make sure that you don't bust through the stratosphere and get up here, because they just don't want that to happen. So Spotify came out and they said, hey, you know, this isn't a pay for play thing, right? Everybody that's on these playlists is because they're making traction, right? Your record might be making traction in that genre. They see that. Cool. Now, this other artist that's signed with our label, they're not on this playlist, whatever genre it is. Well, guess what? We're gonna go shoot a music video real quick. We're gonna make some drama happen in their life, whatever it is, and then we're gonna post about it. We're gonna take it over on TMZ, and now everybody's gonna start streaming their music, and now that spot that your record should be on, this other artist who might not put out anything for the last 6 months, they're gonna go create commotion and create a buzz around them, so that now, oh, I forgot about that guy. Oh, let me go check this record out. I'm gonna go check this out. now they're taking that spot that you really should have been on that playlist. And that's the type of stuff that happens all the time. And that's just another way for them to control it. It sucks. But if you're getting to that point where they have to spend money to keep you down, man, bring it on. That's just you got a major hater.
Like,
Major.
that's the main reason why I want to stay independent, because I know I don't fit the normal look for a female rapper. And I know, like, when you sign a contract, they're going to try to push a certain look. And I know I want to stay 10 toes down, like, for who I am and my morals. So, yeah.
And that's actually, man, something that I've seen in the industry. It's like been really cool to see is like probably in the last like 5-10 years, like a lot of the, hey, this is like what the artist needs to look like or do or act or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff's like been thrown out the window. And I think that's because a lot of people who are consumers of music, they don't want that, you know, cookie cutter. You have to look like this and act like this and do this, you know. They just want real people making great music, you know. So it's been cool to see that. But yeah, so that's how they kind of control it though. So
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. Any other questions? Cool. Well, yeah, guys, like I said, I want you guys to kind of hang out and network for a little bit. We're going to be doing this again in October. The cool thing is about when we get into kind of this like next phase for things, we're already kind of breaking it down as a business. We're definitely going to get more in depth on some of these topics. I think we went real heavy on performing rights organizations and distribution last time, which was cool, and it brought a lot to light for a lot of people, but we really going to make sure that we kind of fine-tune this as an independent artist approach. I think that's going to help the most here. So, yeah. Yep. All right, well, yeah, hang out. Cue some music, dude, in the back. Thanks, guys. Yeah, appreciate y'all.